Hi guys, welcome to our first ever commentary that we are starting here. I'm Alexis Bruno.
I'm Valentina, Saldana.
And thank you so much for joining us. So we have some news that just
big news
broke kind of Fresno State and the sports community. We have our football coach Jeff Tedford, who has recently stepped down from his position because of health concerns. So how do you feel?
I feel like to some extent you kind of seen it coming. Back in December, he actually stepped down before the New Mexico Bowl because of health concerns. So I'm glad that he's addressing those and taking care of his health and being with his family, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important.
Yeah, so he kind of has a history of him leaving and coming back. I know back in December, he took the bowl game off. Tim Skipper, who we'll talk about more later, also had to step in for that game. Back then it was heart problems. I'm not sure if it's the same thing now or something different, but he did have a recent medical checkup, and they said he isn't stepping down now. So this is kind of big news. He actually just came back from Las Vegas for the Mountain West Media Day, so I'm sure he was assuming to go out there and want to play or want to be out there on the field. But this kind of came by surprise, and it's kind of bad. I mean, Tedford has such a long history with Fresno State, right?
I mean, he played here as a student back in, was it the 80s, I believe? I'm not too sure. But
yeah, like 1981. He was quarterback here. And so, I mean, it all started here. This is his alma mater, which makes it even
harder, I would say.
Harder, even for the fans, too, knowing that he really was a representative of the Valley because he started here, played here, left to Canada to play there for 6 years in the Canadian League. But then he came right back, came to coach, and then started his coaching career here. The way he turned the football community around was tremendous. Yeah. He really changed that, right?
Did you happen to see a bit of the Mountain West Media and what he said during that?
Yeah, I was watching it, and he did say, he was okay. They asked him. They even asked, in one clip, they asked Malik Sherrod how he feels about the coach and his history with that. He said he felt good. He felt great that he was back on the field with them.
He's like a father to us, honestly. Like, the amount of love that he just exudes is it's ridiculous. You really feel loved when you're talking to him. You never have a conversation where it feel like you're just talking to talk. Like, there's always some feeling or some meaning behind what he's saying. Everything that he says to you is for a reason. So everything that he says, we take it in for sure.
You could really tell how much passion Malik Sherrod had for Coach Tedford, and he's like, it's always a learning lesson. So the love for the Valley is always there for Tedford.
Right.
And he came from changing this whole thing around. He came from a program that really had nothing
going on for them. At Cal, he flipped the team. I believe it was a 1-10 season, and he came in, completely switched it around. Coached there for 10 years, stepped into Fresno State, and did the same before leaving and then coming back for these last few seasons. So a lot of history between just being here.
And I think that, you know what's so crazy to me? What? He actually started at Fresno State on the coaching staff as a volunteer.
Yeah, he did.
He literally didn't want anything, didn't get paid, didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He started here as a volunteer, made his way to an assistant coach. It's just so crazy that he started here not on the coaching staff and then ended up being head coach. But you could really tell.
Which shows his love and deep roots for the Valley. Yeah. Which is really great to see. But wishing him well, wishing he gets better soon. Yeah. And in a statement, he did share that he's willing to help out Fresno State program in any way that he could, obviously while spending time with his family. So glad that's working out for him.
Yeah. So the program is going to be pretty different with him.
Without him,
sorry.
Yeah, it'll be for this season so far. They haven't announced a new head coach. Interim head coach will be Tim Skipper, which we'll get more into that. But do you want to go into the future of football and what could be expected for this season?
Yeah, there's just so much with football now. I think the coaching process really has so much to do with how your team's going to be. A coach is so much of an impact to a team. You see it all around. You have to have a good coach. Tim Skipper's coming in. I know he has a long history. He also played here at Fresno State. So even going back, Tedford had these other coaching staff members who also played in Fresno, which I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you don't see that often.
Yeah, like he hired people that also played in Fresno, and kind of like football really was a coaching staff built from the foundation of playing in the Valley, which I think is super cool. Yeah. Like you don't really see many teams that are going to have alumni playing or coaching for the alma mater, right. You know? So I think that's cool. With Skipper now, he has a lot on his plate.
A lot.
And
I feel like he'll do pretty good, though. I mean, he coached for the New Mexico Bowl. They won 37-10. Obviously, New Mexico Bowl wasn't what was being expected last season, but through the circumstances, I feel like he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think they won that game by a lot. It's hard to say if he'll be good because if you look at the schedule, we have a super hard schedule this year. Fresno State has one of the hardest schedules that they've almost ever had. You're playing Michigan your first game.
In the big house.
Yeah, over there.
Yeah.
They are the defending champions. They're coming in hot. They're coming in with all the momentum. I mean, it's going to be hard. I was able to say they can probably do it with Tedford and put up a battle. I don't know if they can do it with.
And what kind of sucks, they have only a month and a half to adjust to this new coach. I mean, obviously he's coached here before, so they know him and they know how.
But also, it's like
so different.
You have different players coming in. Yeah,
True.
He coached back in December, right? You didn't have Corey Foreman on the team.
Yeah.
You didn't have all these new players. I mean, Fresno State Football has already signed over 15 new players on the roster. Just because people, I mean, went up to the league, to the NFL, and people are gone now. So it's like, how are these players going to adjust to that?
Yeah. I mean, we do have Fresno State has a lot of good returning players, but...
Do you think this gives them more of a disadvantage starting off Michigan?
I think it definitely does, just because Michigan, reigning champs, they're coming in. It's at their house. Their house is always packed. The tickets were super expensive, so I don't know how many Fresno State, especially when it's so far.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well the Red Wave travels. And the Red Wave travels pretty good, but to a state like Michigan, I'm just not too confident that'll be too many fans. But it's definitely going to be a huge test for Fresno State football, especially without Tedford.
Now, I feel like I can say Fresno State will not put up as good as a battle as I thought they would.
You think so?
I mean, the chemistry is not even going to be there with the coach. And you have to have this chemistry with the coach already. I mean, I guess last season, Mikey Keene and the Bulldogs did take on Purdue the first game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was supposed to be a total blowout. They beat them, shut them out. It could be like a luck thing. But I mean, if you look going down to the end of the season, you're playing UCLA.
Over there.
Yeah. We're playing UCLA over there. Now, this was also under the coaching of Jeff Tedford, but Fresno State Football has beat UCLA the past 4 times they've played them.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat a team even 3 times.
4 times in a row.
Yeah.
4 times, yeah.
So, I mean, by then I hope they do hire a new coach and maybe we won't have Tim Skipper in. But I'm not saying it's going to go all bad.
If they do hire a new coach, wouldn't that even be a bigger disadvantage? Since it's like now it's this completely new coach who's coming in who we don't even know. And now everyone has to get to know him. We have to get to know his coaching style. We have to train all these new recruits. I feel like it'd be a bigger disadvantage.
Yeah, but hopefully Fresno State can find a way to hire a coach that's well experienced and has a lot of years behind him as a head coach back then. You know, I mean, football's our biggest sport here. So I'm sure they're going to bring in somebody who knows the game well.
And speaking about hires, this will be Classy's first official hire as athletic director. And I mean, that's a big task to take on as your first task.
He barely started I mean, this is
less than a month ago.
We're in July right now. He barely
Yeah.
started a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's already faced with this task. He took on the job. It's part of the job. It's what he's going to have to do. But it's going to be...
a big test.
Yeah, a big test for him. It's going to be the... I mean, and he's hiring for one of our biggest sports here at Fresno State.
Our biggest sport here at Fresno State, I would say.
So, I mean, he's going to...
I don't know.
Have to see how that goes. I don't know who he's going to hire.
Yeah.
But... I mean, looking to our football team next year and talking about the chemistry and how everything's going to go, we do have some notable players that are going to have to step up next season. So who do you think is going to be on the field to make that move,
make
that jump?
In the wide receiver room is definitely going to be Jalen Moss.
I mean, we lost a lot.
Magdalena, which we did.
In our wide receiver room, we've lost so many good players.
Yeah.
To the NFL and to the
just graduating
camps, going to the Canadian League. We had Brooks go over there as well. So, I mean, it's a big loss to our wide receiver group.
Huge, but I feel like Jalen Moss, I mean, he started 12 out of the 13 games last season. He did really good. He's still a pretty young player. I believe he redshirted his first year, so he still has some time under his belt. He had 55 receptions and went for 706 yards, so pretty good season.
If you look back at the Mountain West Media Day, I don't remember if it was Devo or if it was Malik Sherrod. One of them did say that Jalen Moss looks bigger. He looks bigger than he was last season, which is really good for a wide receiver. Use your body, and so... Maybe he is taking that big step, and he's going to take that big step that he needs next year.
I think he would for sure be a standout on the field. Another one who I feel like is coming more of an underdog in a way is Magdalena. He did start all 13 games last season. He had 47 receptions and went for 509 yards. A little bit less, but I feel like he was taking more of a back step last season since there was a bunch of receivers who were doing more. So this is definitely an opportunity for him to step into the light and be able to take that.
Yeah, I think with our wide receiver room and how we lost so much, I think that Jalen Moss is going to take the number 1 wide receiver spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Next season, but we are going to have a lot of people step up. Mikey Keene, I mean, I know people love him, people hate him. What do you think?
I think this last season, he started off really good, kind of went on a downward slope, and then at the end it was okay. So, I mean, just throughout the season, multiple injuries, being tired, because it is a long season, I think all of that accumulated. But now that he's been a year in the Valley, a year being able to test the waters here with this new conference, he should be able to respond accordingly for every team. He's played them at least once, or if he didn't, he's seen them play. So he definitely has to step it up. I feel like he did good, but he could definitely do much better.
Here's the thing. I think, yes, he did have several injuries, and I think that's what's going to keep him from taking another leap to where he needs to be. I mean, he had so many injuries last season.
Yeah.
He is so injury prone. He cannot stay healthy. I think that could be the factor of Fresno State football next season. If he can stay healthy, I think they'll be able to make a run. But if you don't have Mikey Keene healthy, I don't think they'll make it.
Tough.
I mean, he did have a good season last year. He had 283 receptions, and he threw for 2,976 yards.
Yeah.
He did have 10 interceptions throughout the season,
which is not the best.
So I think, I mean, also, Mikey Keene getting hurt, you can't really blame it all on him. It has to do a lot with your front and whoever's in your O-line.
Yeah.
And so Fresno State has to find a way to get these O-linemen to hold the pocket longer for Mikey Keene. If it's not health for him, he's just going to keep getting sacked. He's going to go down, and he's going to have to scramble. And so that O-line really has to help Mikey Keene next season, for them to really be able to get some plays open for them.
Yeah. And I feel like the offensive line, more towards the middle to the end of the season, was when it got, like, completely horrible. So, I mean, there was some injuries on there. I remember Jacob Spilmer got injured San Jose State game, so they lost him.
I mean, and here's another thing to notice. Like, Okay, Tedford was a quarterback himself.
Mm-hmm.
I know football teams have their own quarterback coach and stuff, but I'm sure Tedford was able to help Mikey Keene because he has his own experience.
Right.
Now you have Skipper coming in, who's not really was a quarterback or whatever. So Mikey Keene is not going to have Tedford there for him anymore to be as a QB to QB, you know?
Yeah.
And that might be a little harder. That might be a change that Mikey Keene's going to have to adjust to. He's not going to have Tedford there to be able to guide him.
Yeah.
You know, it's different when you have a coach that was a quarterback and you are a quarterback because you kind of get those scenario connections.
Right, yeah. So
now, Skipper was on the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, Mikey Keene is going to have to step up big time. He's going to have to stay healthy. And the O-line's going to have to step up. The O-line is really going to have to protect him. We're going against Michigan, one of the top defenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they're going to hold up.
Well, that's going to be a really, really big test that we'll see.
And then on the defensive side of the ball, there's so many new players, notable players as well.
One of them is Corey Foreman, who's transferring in from USC. He's coming in as a junior because he redshirted last year. So last season he only had 1 tackle, but that was because he redshirted. The season prior to that he had 13 tackles, and his freshman year he had 11 tackles. So I feel like he'd be a great addition. Definitely his time at USC will prepare him because obviously they face bigger competitors. So
I think him coming from USC is going to be a big help.
Yeah.
Also, he is on the defensive side. I'm sure their coaching style was kind of different over there too. I mean, it's such a big competitive school over there. Cam Lockridge is another one.
Oh yeah.
He was injured last season. He's coming back. He has to come back. He's coming back at 100%, which is very good. Getting him back. Hopefully he gets into a rhythm quickly.
Yeah.
I know coming back from injury can be hard. Hopefully he's doing good this offseason. And they're getting him at 100%. Devo's also going to be there as well.
Right.
So, I mean, he went to the media day. He's expected to do good this season as well. So, on the defensive end last season, it kind of was crashing down later on. I mean,
I feel like the defense has always been pretty solid. Last season, they did have a slump.
I mean, a big slump. Last season, they could not hold the ball on third downs. They were allowing people to get into these scenarios where overtime, I mean, you can't be getting into overtime.
That's true.
And if you can't get off the field on third downs, how are you going to win the game? And I know coming back to the end of last season, that was a big part of why they couldn't even make it to the LA Bowl game, because they were getting into these scenarios where your defense can't get off on third down.
Mm-hmm.
If your defense can't get off, well, then you're going to expect them to score, you know, or they're getting into these scoring positions.
Yeah.
So I think getting these people back, these key players, and getting these new additions to the defense is going to really help.
Yeah, I think it definitely will. I feel like the O-line has way more to prove than the D-line, but that's a time will tell situation that we'll see in the season. So,
and I mean, Skipper's coming in. I'm sure he's more experienced with the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully he does good. But he has a big, big task ahead of him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so he does have his media day coming up.
Right. It's next week, so stay tuned for another update on that. But he was named interim head coach. He coaches the New Mexico Bowl game. We already talked about that. Do you think Tim Skipper is a good fit for the program so far?
Long-term, no.
Long-term, no.
No. I do not think he's a long-term fit for Fresno State.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if he beats Michigan, if he goes in making a statement beating Michigan, I think he might prove a point. He might prove a point, but he's only interim, so
we'll see.
He definitely is not a long-term fit, I don't see.
Mm-hmm.
But he did take over in a lot of, I mean, Tedford has left so much. In 2017, he came in, had 2 seasons, left again in 2019, I believe, and then came back. So Skipper has had to step in,
right,
where he took these big games and he took the bowl game as well, the New Mexico bowl game. So he has stepped up when needed, but for the long term, I don't see him.
I hope he comes in and makes like a huge statement. That'd be like the most typical Fresno State story. I would say it's always the underdog who's the one that's doing
you know what?
stuff.
I really do feel like if he can continue to be successful this season or at the beginning, she'll put a statement out.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, we have one of the hardest
schedules, so that should say something, yeah.
So, yeah, and so we're going to be on the big stage. It's a primetime game. I mean, you better win. If you really want to drive, you better win.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll get into more of Skip's history and stuff next time on our show. So
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, that is really all we have for you today. We thank you guys for staying tuned. If you guys stayed till the end, there's going to be more of this, right?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing this type of commentary show throughout the semester. And into the spring semester, it won't just be sports. We'll be bringing in guests and talking about news, lifestyle, opinion pieces, all of that good stuff. So make sure to stay tuned with us.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of it. We're super excited. This is like a new start, but we're ready. So our next one should be out very soon, so stay tuned.
I'm Valentina Saldana.
I'm Alexis, Bruno.
And thank you for watching.
Wow.
Slay!